There's a lot of emphasis on what happens next, of course, but people look at it, I think, very binary. It's either right or wrong. And for me, obviously, I don't agree with how it was conducted in Venezuela, but I do like to see the United States being more, well, actually following through on its policy of disrupting these illicit activities with the tankers. But people sort of think it's one and the same, it's not all. But very simply, aside from all of this, a lot of people, including the most requested question for you by the audience, is what happens about Greenland? What would the EU/NATO's response best strategy be? Are we going to actually see kinetic action over Greenland? I personally don't think so. How do you see it?
Yeah, so I'm with you. I think it's unlikely that we're going to see uh, any sort of kinetic, real military force. I think that would be a disaster for the United States. It would be the biggest own goal in the last 20 or 30 years for us if we did that because of the damage it would do to our relationship with our allies, damage to our credibility, um, and for what? I mean, the Danes and the Greenlanders have said, please send your troops back. You're welcome to be here. We used to have 17 bases in Greenland, and they've said, you can do this again. And they've also indicated that certainly they're willing to have U.S. companies come in and dig for critical minerals underneath the ice. I mean, so what is it that the administration is actually after? And I think it's not security. I mean, we haven't had anybody there except this one little space station for years. So where's the big security threat? When they say that Greenland's covered with Russian and Chinese naval vessels, it's just not true. Now, as the polar ice cap continues to shrink in outlying years, there will be more activity perhaps. But this is where NATO could be proactive and say, you know what? The Americans have been helping us for a century. They bailed us out in World War I, they bailed us out in World War II, and then for 80 years after World War II, the Americans spent zillions of dollars helping to defend us and helping us recover from the war. Why don't we help America? And we're going to put some more muscle on the NATO Arctic security plans. And you get Norwegian and British and Canadian and Danish Navy and Army and Air Force involved in the Arctic and say, okay, we'll if it's really security, we'll help. But I think we're going to find out it's not really security. It's about demonstrating this is ours, and we don't have to ask Denmark for permission to dig because it's ours. And I think that's what's really going on here. What I hope, and I hate to use
But
the word, but I think NATO is where this can be solved. As you and many of your listeners will know, there has always been a friction between members of NATO. I mean, the French kicked us out in the 60s. Turkey and Greece are always close to something happening. Germany, very unhappy with the U.S. when we invaded Iraq in 2003. And so NATO provides a format where other nations can say, hey, United States, you don't want to lose access to bases. You don't want to lose this great intelligence network that we have. Let's find a way to avoid doing something that wrecks this alliance. And I think they will eventually.
but just to follow up on that more bluntly, what is NATO if the United States takes such a reduced role? Is it not just going to become a bit of a talking hub? I obviously, having worked in the UN, in principle believe in what it stands for, but I'm still very critical of it right now because it is not following through on what it says. I mean, that's partially the way that it's constructed. But like, what does NATO become? Just another talking forum?
I don't think
Uh,
so.
but we've seen the actions with the French leading up with testing exercises in Romania late last year. It was nothing without the Americans' provision of logistics, and there are a lot of basically shortcomings that NATO has unless we build our own capacity in Europe or the NATO or the
Oh,
Americans
that's the
don't.
answer. This is what every American president has been pleading with our European allies to do, to build your own capabilities. And so this is all about political will. Look, the Germans have finally got it. They have finally figured out that they have to spend more. They're going to have to do it. And now There's no protest in the streets. I mean, Germans get it. The Bundeswehr is going to get bigger. They're spending zillions of euro on growing the size of all their armed forces, modernizing another 80,000 troops. I mean, that's there's no protests out there. They have finally figured it out. Other countries are going to have to do the same. Poland, they're not confused. Romania is not confused. But the things that the U.S. has always provided are logistics, intelligence, aerial refueling, these kind of things. Other countries are going to have to step up. But let's just say, for for the sense of argument, for the sake of argument, the U.S. says, "Sorry, we're out." That's not going to happen, by the way. But let's just say they did, or we're completely committed over here somewhere else, so we don't have anything left for you. And by the way, there's only like 80,000 Americans total military in Europe. That would not come close to filling up Wembley Stadium. So it's not so much that's there. Europe can provide, if they got serious about it, almost everything except, thousands of nuclear weapons. All the other stuff, it's a matter of priority and political will. And I'm a little weary of listening to Europeans say, "Oh, we can't afford it, it'll take too long." Well, get on with it. I live here in Germany. I've seen no decrease in the number of people that go on ski holidays or go to Saint-Tropez or go to Zult or all the other places. The number of Mercedes and Audis and BMWs here in Frankfurt has not decreased. There is plenty of money. There's just not enough political will.
Well, I don't think you're going to see the Germans buying Citroens instead of their lovely BMWs, are you?
I hope not. I hope not.